Bro, some things are so secretive, they never even make the news.
Silicon Valley's looking a little different these days. If the 2010s was corporate art, pride logos, and nap pods, now it's more like...
I sometimes hate the enemies of Palantir. I'm gonna fuck these people.
I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who've tried to screw us.
See, I understand this frustration, but I don't condone imposing violence on people who are opposing of your views. If I was sitting right there with him, I wouldn't let him run off with that. I would tell him, yo, there's always gonna be an equal and opposite reaction. And that opposite reaction, the opposing, is gonna come from your critics. People who don't align with your beliefs. People who don't align with your interest. People are gonna critique you, and you just have to accept it. You can't impose violence, because that's permanent. But opinions, they can change. Death, that can't change. Once you're gone, bruh.
Silicon Valley is going back to its roots, and that's building the tech of the American empire. This all starts with AI. Generative AI has been in our lives and in our faces for about 3 years now.
ChatGPT.
And we've always known it sucked. From stealing from artists and writers, to getting people laid off, to data centers poisoning entire towns, and, the flood of Ghibli rips. AI really hasn't made anybody's life any better.
See, I'm not gonna bash AI, nor am I pro AI. But what I can say this, AI has bridged the gap between a lot of professions. Let's say for me in YouTube, I'm able to make thumbnails without hiring a graphic designer. I'm able to analyze my data with AI without hiring a data analyst. But the thing about it though is I'm limited on resources. When it comes to these corporations, y'all got endless resources. You guys can hire people, damn near assure them that, their job's gonna be here. I can't do that. That's why I wouldn't hire somebody if I can't be able to make sure that their livelihood is okay. It's gonna be good.
Live Memory can take your old photo and voila, turn it into a video.
But it's worse now. In the last year, military tech, and military AI especially, has become the hottest new thing in the Valley. Everybody who's in AI and realizing they're in a bit of a bubble is looking for the best way to keep the air and cash coming in.
See, AI costs a lot of money to maintain and also advance. And when it comes to these tech corporations, they spend billions of dollars on AI. And a lot of times, I like to assume that they spend more money than they have, which places them in compromising situations, making compromising deals. Deals that they otherwise wouldn't have involved themselves in had they not needed the money. And for example, I feel like this is going towards automating warfare or allowing AI to make decisions, war decisions, that could be catastrophic.
Since the election, we've seen the tech industry get really cozy with the Trump admin and broing it up on Rogan. Since this is a government that loves war, these guys would follow along. They're not just playing the culture war game to get conservatives off their back. Like, take Meta. Meta's AI, Llama, has cost the company billions of dollars in R&D. That's a big investment into a thing that, by and large, has very little use to most people and that hardly anyone is paying for.
It's one thing to spend money on AI and it actually becomes of good use, but when you're Meta and you're spending billions of dollars on Llama, something not as advanced as ChatGPT or Claude and Gemini, bro, y'all need better financial advisors, man. Y'all not spending y'all money wisely. Y'all not getting a bang for y'all buck. Cause Llama, that joint, oh my god, I don't even want to get started on Llama, bro. I wish I could talk to Mark Zuckerberg about Llama, bro. That joint's whack. I don't know how many times I can say that.
Last year, though, Meta released this announcement. We are pleased to confirm that we are also making Llama available to US government agencies, including those that are working on defense and national security applications. The memo goes on to say that, as well as the government itself, Llama would be going to the government's top military contractors, and companies that provide other services for the DoW, like Oracle and Palantir.
This is a prime example of what I was talking about earlier. When it comes to making compromising deals, you end up adhering to the one who could potentially give you the most amount of money. And in this case, the one is the government. Coincidentally, the government is actually the ones who can impose restrictions on these tech corporations on what they can and can't do. The government can push the red button at any moment, so it makes sense why Meta would want to be on the good side of the government. Not only are they going to provide them with money, but they're going to give them a lot of leeway and stuff to do what they want to do.
And Meta aren't the only ones. OpenAI is kind of doing the same thing, making anti-drone AI with Anduril, writing a whole AI action plan for the US, and knitting a closer relationship with the big boys by recruiting as many people as possible from the military wing of the government. People from the DOW, the CIA, the NSA, the Pentagon, and Special Ops all now work with Sam Altman.
It's not surprising at all. When you want to be on someone's good side, you're willing to do whatever it takes to be on their good side. Because at the end of the day, the government is the overruling power, so they get the ultimate say on what these corporations can and can't do. Every time you look at the government, just think of it as the corporation's bosses. This may be wrong, but every time you're around your boss or you see your boss, make sure you're on their good side. Because if you're not on their good side, they're gonna fire you. And you're gonna lose all sorts of income that you need to fund your livelihood. And like I said, the government is their bosses.
But the worst offender has to be Palantir. What does Palantir actually do? Basically, software that makes it easier to parse through a lot of data. If you're the police, the government, or the army, and you have data from different systems not well organized, or just mountains and mountains of stuff from decades of surveillance, it's usually not obvious what to do with all that. Palantir's pitch is that their AI is there to help you see how everything connects.
I'm not going to judge too early, but I can say this. Certain use cases, AI can become very, very helpful when it comes to matters like this, like organizing data, collecting evidence. Especially if you're falsely accused, you're going to want to get all the evidence you can get. But if that evidence is out of reach and you're not able to collect it, it can become a major problem when it comes to people convicting you of crimes that you didn't commit. So the utilization of AI here, I can actually see it being very helpful when it comes to parsing data and helping our policemen.
In immigration, that means putting together profiles of every immigrant in the US, with everything from border entry dates, visa status, home address, tax records, social media, known relationships, and past experiences with law enforcement, and then making a list for ICE agents of where to go and when. In the case of war, it means doing pretty much the same thing by combining, say, spyware data with surveillance footage and facial recognition software, and then making a kill list. Then somebody, or more and more often, some drone running on another AI model, will go out and kill whoever has been identified.
This is just in general. If you perceive someone as a threat, I don't think it's ideal to have AI take care of that threat for you. Especially when AI makes mistakes, especially when AI hallucinates. And AI has no emotion. AI doesn't really rationalize like a human or feel like a human. So it's not really a good idea to place these type of matters onto it.
You enter hundreds of targets into the system and just wait to see who you can kill, saying they were fine with the fact that this software is, of course, not particularly accurate, and that civilian casualties are just collateral damage they're willing to accept because it's war. Now, they say the software is 90% accurate, but in a genocide where over 83% of deaths are civilians, we don't know how many of those came from some AI.
I'm a person who's always against wars. I feel like there are other ways to resolve conflict. When it comes to wars, that gotta be the last resort. And when I hear a corporation making the claim that their software is not entirely accurate, you're gonna lose a lot of trust, bruh. A lot of trust. I wouldn't be surprised if your stocks drop. That's not a good thing to say at all. If their stocks drops, you know why.
It's especially scary when you can see for yourself that AI is really prone to hallucinations, i.e. making stuff up, and is constantly reinforcing its own biases. It will never be an accurate technology, and that's kind of the point. AI has given violence a new strategy, both in war and domestic policing.
I don't know if you guys utilize AI like that, like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, but when you come and type on the chat box, you know what happens? There's a fine print that says this AI is liable to make mistakes, or something like that. It may say something wrong, it may make the wrong image that you requested, it may hallucinate, and that's okay. Those are harmless mistakes, but knowing that this model makes a mistake and implementing it in warfare, that's catastrophic. Those are deadly mistakes. Palantir, y'all gotta think this through, man. This is not a good use case of AI at all.
The new meta is using tons of data to make a list of potential targets as long as possible so that the software looks powerful, shoot or bomb or detain indiscriminately, and then deal with all the innocents caught in the crossfire after the fact. And what's really terrifying is that there's not much we can do to stop it.
I agree. There's not really much we can do when it comes to these corporations and the government, all that type of stuff making these deals. We're not there during those conversations. But unfortunately, we're the ones that deal with the repercussions. we're the ones that deal with the fallout. It just is what it is. Especially the ones who are targeted by these drones controlled by AI. I feel bad for y'all, man. Especially those civilians.
You look at how, even companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon have long been selling services to the military, to the US government. In the past, they would face some degree of pushback for that. And what we see now is that when workers speak up, they're pretty immediately fired and silenced.
We got to protect our bottom line. We have to protect the relationships that allow us to increase our bottom line. And anyone who stands in the way will be dealt with. A company's always going to protect the relationship that benefits it the most.
And behind it all, an entire architecture of surveillance and analysis is being built by the most technically capable engineers on million-dollar contracts working for billion-dollar companies backed by $1 trillion government budget. It's hard not to see this as a system built on eradicating all semblance of humanity.
But this goes beyond the engineers, guys. What are engineers? Employees. If you're on a ship and the captain decides to steer south, north, west, east, you're gonna steer in that direction. You have no say, unless you wanna hop off the ship and potentially drown. The people that I would put the blame on are the people that are actually steering the ship. Those are the people that I would question. Those are the people I would critique. The CEOs, the shareholders, the executives. You can't blame the employees, man. They're just trying to make their money.
Not only are there no people supervising the AI, these systems are built to dehumanize us until it's all just data on spreadsheets. From top to bottom, violence is now just robots executing data. Those in power get to have a clean conscience because machines don't make human mistakes. The rest of us are stuck waiting for the day some killer robot comes our way, and we won't even be able to beg.
That's just the sad reality, guys. We make mistakes and machines make mistakes. At least when we make mistakes, we acknowledge that we made the mistake. We know that it is a mistake. Machines, on the other hand, don't know. They don't know if they made a mistake. That's what I think. But I don't know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. I want to know what your perspective on all this is. But until then, peace and love. I'll see y'all next time.